be recorded.
Okay, you're ready to go ahead and start the meeting and come out of executive.
Thank you so much, Tessie. It's 2:13 p.m. and the board's out of executive session. I thought before we proceeded with the settlements that maybe we would all just sort of take a moment to talk about Stephanie, about Ms. Luca, and give some feedback about our thoughts about how we felt about how things have gone over the past year. So I guess I would just start out by saying that I've been nothing but impressed and nothing but grateful for the hard work that I've seen. Just so appreciative of the fact that she was able to come in the middle of a hailstorm with regard to the Strauss matter, the pandemic, the having to shift all of the employees into the home setting to work remotely, and just hit the ground running in terms of picking up the nuances of the board and just really bringing a real depth of knowledge to the position. Great communications with me personally. I'm nothing but grateful for that. But also with the governor's office, with the board members in general, really amazing leadership qualities, I think, and has done, I think, a terrific job about hiring new staff that are the right people for the right positions. And not really micromanaging either, and not being, how shall I say, difficult to work with, but rather more of a pleasure. And at the same time, being, strict about what she wants. And so it's a nice combination of properties, a nice combination of qualities to have. I'm just very grateful and appreciative. Anybody else have anything they want to say?
Yeah, Dr. Shanstein, I agree with those comments wholeheartedly. I think she's really created a great culture here. Really asked for feedback from the employees, sets really good work expectations, and has overcome a lot with the Strauss investigation and COVID-19. Has really accomplished so much, and we're very, very fortunate to have her leadership.
Thank you so much. Mrs. Montgomery.
Well, I've had a chance to look at a lot of major government offices over the years, and I have the pleasure of having worked with hundreds of quality employees, if not thousands, and certainly hundreds of leaders in those those organizations that I've been responsible for. I have to tell you, I think we are so blessed as a board to have found a leader like Stephanie. I think she brings the qualities I envy. To be able to look somebody in the face and say, look, we cannot, to give quality criticism without being critical, and to do it with an understanding of human beings' feelings and the way to operate, just to treat people, is just it is a talent I wish I had. She is organized, she's articulate, she has one of the quickest studies I've ever encountered. She knows how to prioritize what are the issues. She knows how to say no without saying hell no, but she also knows how to say hell no when she has to. And generally speaking, when you wrap that all up with an engaging personality, with kindness, and a servant's heart, I think we have exactly the ideal of what I think a public servant is. And I think that she has been a blessing to this board. She came aboard in a crisis and she didn't look back. And for that, I am very grateful, not only for the board, but for the state. and for the Strauss victims and for, frankly, our staff. Not taking away from anybody who she succeeded, but we hit the jackpot with Stephanie, and I am so pleased that she is with us personally as a board member.
Thank you, Ms. Montgomery. Any other thoughts?
I couldn't agree more. Well said, Betty.
Thank you, Dr. Rothman. Yes, well said.
She's been nothing but a pleasure to work with, to be around. Her people skills are extraordinary. She reads people, she understands people, and she gets out of them the best. It's just truly been an honor to have her. You know, when someone jumps into Lake Erie and starts swimming and never looks back, it's amazing. And I really feel that she is amazing.
Thank you, Dr. Safran. Mr.
Stephanie,
Giacalone, did you?
You know, I think everybody summed it up. I'm not just going to reiterate it, but just to say thank you. You've really done an outstanding job, and you truly is appreciated.
And Dr. Son.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's good to provide some tangible examples of experiences. And one thing I want to mention is just think about me at policy committee and how for so long we struggled with the legislative tracker and knowing where things were, and it was difficult to get that going. And you see how much we've improved, and that is a testament to some improvement. I've had the opportunity to work with Stephanie also on the Medical Marijuana Commission. She represents the medical board very well. That's a very difficult position to be in because there's so much emotion. I don't know if you guys have ever seen one of those meetings on both sides of the aisle, and she balances that very well too. And of course, there's still some work to do, right? I mean, as we look forward, we do continue to have consistent complaints with, getting more information with some, some of the consent agreements and stuff like that. And so, I mean, I'm sure that we'll be working through some challenges in the future as well.
Thank you so much. Any other discussion? Okay, so on behalf of all of us, Stephanie, thank you for everything.
You're so welcome. Thank you. It's been a really fast year. I really appreciate the nice thoughts, and like Dr. Swain said, we still have a lot of work to do. We're never not going to have a lot of work to do. We always have room for improvement. And I'm grateful to be here. It's a fantastic, amazing board. And it's just, I've never been in a government position that allows me to be so directly involved to see that impact of, kind of the government action. And so that's been a real kind of growth opportunity for me in this role. To have that direct interaction and still be able to, do so much of the administrative stuff that I love as well. So it's been really fun. It's been challenging at times, but we have an amazing staff. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, maybe we'll proceed then to settlements. Is Rebecca with us? Oh, hi there. And so, do I hear a motion? Little feedback. Okay. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed consent agreement with CSMMD? Motion, please.
Move.
Mr. Giacalone, and
Second, Dr. Johnson.
thank you, Dr. Johnson. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermouth,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Mr. Giacalone,
Yes.
Dr. Sohn,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Dr. Cactarello,
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery. Ms. Montgomery? Okay, that was a yes. Dr. Feibel?
No.
Dr. Bechtel?
Abstain.
And myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed Step 1 consent agreement with HMALMT? Motion, please.
So moved.
Bechtel, thank you. And
Second, Dr. Johnson.
thank you so much. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermouth,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Mr. Giacolone,
Yes.
Dr. Sloan,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Dr. Cacarella,
Yes.
Mr. Gonadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Yes.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed Step 1 consent agreement with JDBMD? Motion, please.
So moved.
Second, Dr. Cacarella.
Thank you so much. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Mr. Giacolone,
Yes.
Dr. Sloan,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Dr. Cacarella,
Yes.
Mr. Gonadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Yes.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed permanent surrender with JDMMD? Motion,
So moved.
Dr. Bechtel and
Second.
Dr. Johnson. Thanks kindly. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Mr. Giacolone,
Yes.
Dr. Sloan,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Dr. Cacarella,
Yes.
Mr. Gonadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Yes.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed consent agreement with JCWPA? Motion,
So moved.
Dr. Bechtel, thank you.
Dr. Cacarella.
Cacarella, thank you. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Mr. Giacolone,
Yes.
Dr. Sloan,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Dr. Cacarella,
Yes.
Mr. Gonadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Yes.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed permanent surrender of certificate to recommend with MKMD? Motion,
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Johnson and Dr. Bechtel, thank you so much. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Mr. Giacolone,
Yes.
Dr. Sloan,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Dr. Cacarella,
Yes.
Mr. Gonadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Dr. Feibel,
No.
Dr. Bechtel,
Yes.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed permanent surrender with MSSMD? Motion,
So moved. Dr. Johnson.
thank you. And
Second.
Dr. Bechtel for that. And Dr. Cacarella, thank you so much. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Mr. Giacolone,
Yes.
Dr. Sloan,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Dr. Cacarella,
Yes.
Mr. Gonadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Yes.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed permanent surrender with RMDMD? Motion,
So moved, Dr. Cacarella.
thank you. Second,
Second.
Dr. Bechtel, thank you so much. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Mr. Giacolone,
Yes.
Dr. Sloan,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Dr. Cacarella,
Yes.
Mr. Gonadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Yes.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed permanent withdrawal with SMMD? Motion,
So moved, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you. And second?
Second, Dr. Cockrell.
Thank you so much. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Mr. Giacalone,
Yes.
Dr. Sohn,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Dr. Caparello,
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Yes.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed permanent surrender with SCSDO? Motion?
So moved.
Dr. Bechtel, thank you. Second?
Second, Dr. Cockrell.
Thank you so much. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Giacalone,
Yes.
Dr. Sohn,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Dr. Caparello,
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Yes.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed consent agreement with STHMD? Motion?
So moved, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you. A second?
Second, Dr. Cockrell.
Thank you so much. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Mr. Giacalone, Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Abstain.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed consent agreement with TBMD? Motion?
So moved, Dr. Cockrell.
Thank you. Second?
Second, Giacalone.
Thank you so much. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Mr. Giacalone,
Yes.
Dr. Sohn,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Dr. Cacarello,
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Abstain.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to ratify the proposed permanent surrender with TJHMD? Motion?
Move, Giacalone.
Thank you. Second?
Second, Dr. Cockrell.
Dr. Giacalone. Thank you so much. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Dr. Giacalone,
Yes.
Dr. Sohn,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Dr. Cacarello,
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Abstain.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Thank you, everyone. Ms. Marshall, Chief Enforcement Attorney, will now present the proposed citations to the board.
President Schottenstein, members of the board, thank you. Good afternoon. We have 7 proposed citations for you today. The first is to be issued to a massage therapist. It is an automatic suspension by operation of law based on a rape conviction. Our second citation is to be issued to an MD applicant. This is a proposed denial based on a 2013 felony for healthcare fraud, actions by state medical boards of New York and Michigan, and failure to update and disclose on his pending Ohio application that in June, 3 months ago, he was indicted for conspiracy to possess with intent to distribute controlled substances. Citation number 3 is to be issued to a podiatric physician. This is a proposed denial based on a prior board revocation in 2010 for mail fraud and healthcare fraud. Our next citation is to be issued to a DO. It is a minimal standards case involving prescribing of 11 patients between 2011 and 2018. Our next citation is to be issued to an MD. His Ohio license is lapsed, but this involves multiple felony convictions, including conspiracy to distribute controlled substances and firearms used in furtherance of drug trafficking crimes. Citation number 6 is to be issued to an MD. This is based on action taken by the Washington Medical Board regarding his failure to respond to their investigation about prescribing. Our last citation is to be issued to an MD. It is also minimal standards involving prescribing. This is based on 6 patients from 2013 to 2018. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do I hear a motion to approve and issue citation number 1 in automatic suspension?
So moved.
Dr. Bedford, thank you. Is there a second?
Dr. Cockrell.
Roll call, please. Dr. Rothenberg,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Giacalone,
Yes.
Dr. Sohn,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Dr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Mr. Donadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Yes.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. We will be considering citation number 7 separately, so Dr. Bechtel may abstain or vote appropriately. Would any board member like to consider any other citation separately? Do I hear a motion to approve and issue citations numbered 2 through 6? Motion?
So moved, Dr. Cockrell.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Dr. Bechtel, thank you. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothenberg,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Mr. Giacalone,
Yes.
Dr. Sloan,
Yes.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Dr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Mr. Donadakis,
Yes.
Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Yes.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Do I hear a motion to approve and issue citation number 7? Motion?
So moved, Dr. Cockrell.
Thank you. Second?
Move Giacalone.
Thank you so much. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothenberg,
Abstain.
Dr. Safran,
Abstain.
Mr. Giacalone,
Yes. Yes.
Dr.
Yes.
Sloan.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Dr. Cockrell,
Yes.
Mr. Donadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery,
Yes.
Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Abstain.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Ms. Stephanie Luca, Executive Director, will now present the operations report. Stephanie?
Great, thank you. So I have something new to introduce to all of you this month in the operations report. This was brought to my attention actually by the pharmacy board. They do resolutions for their employees when they retire, and they have certain parameters they follow where, if an employee has been there at least 20 years or is retiring with a full state career, they do a resolution in their board and issue, a little parting gift. And so just in talking with Steve Sherholt, I think, it's a really good idea. People spend so much of their time and have their whole career in state government. And so rarely we can do things for them like the private sector can. I think that things like these resolutions mean a lot to people. And so what they've asked us actually is for an employee that was both a pharmacy board employee and is retiring from the pharmacy board, but spent a lot of his career here at the medical board, is Mr. Gregory, I think it's McGlone, who was an investigator here with us. And what they've asked us is if we would like to do a joint resolution with them on this, because again, the majority of his career was spent here at the medical board. And so I think it's a great idea. I think it's something we should do for our employees going forward. So unless there are any objections, I would like to read into the minutes the resolution that the pharmacy board created. It's a joint resolution from both of us. And then we would, according to Benton, he's advised me that we would need a motion and then a second and then a vote on this, and it can be a voice vote. So Dr. Schottenstein, if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and read that joint motion into the record.
If you'd be so kind, that'd be great.
Great. Whereas the administrative and investigative efforts of Gregory A. McGlone as an enforcement investigator with the State Medical Board of Ohio and as an agent with the State of Ohio Board of Pharmacy have directly led to the successful and thoughtful enforcement of the drug laws of Ohio. And whereas these efforts have contributed to the ongoing protection and safety of the citizens of Ohio, therefore, be it resolved that the State Medical Board of Ohio and State of Ohio Board of Pharmacy hereby commend Gregory A. McGlone for a combined 21 years of exemplary service and performance to the boards and to the people of Ohio in carrying out the responsibilities of his positions. And be it also resolved that we, the members of the State Medical Board of Ohio and the State of Ohio Board of Pharmacy, so express our profound appreciation to Mr. McGlone for his dedication and service to the boards and the citizens of Ohio. And be it further resolved that this resolution be spread upon the permanent minutes of the State Medical Board of Ohio and the State of Ohio Board of Pharmacy. Dated today, October 14th, 2020.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Dr. and Dr. Becker, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
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 All opposed? Thank you so much.
All right, great. Thank you so much. And I know that will mean a lot to people. And congratulations to Mr. McGlone. So from an operations report, we are actually right now in the process of hiring an investigator for our Northeast region. We did receive that approval given the public safety nature of the position and the impact that it does have on regulating the pandemic. So we've received that, and we are the position was open to state employees only, and I believe that they are in the process of going through qualifications of those who applied. So we should be on track somewhat soon to get a new investigator in the north. And that is our heaviest region as well. From a budget perspective, I'll let Dr. Schottenstein cover this in his full finance report to the board. What I would just point out, and I'm sure he will as well, is that our revenues continue to lag given the non-renewal of those who had the ability to extend their license renewal to December 1st. I checked with Joe Turek today, and we're at about 16,800 who have still not renewed that should have during that time period. It's down a little bit from a little over 17,000 last month. I feel like we're sort of watching the COVID numbers with these things. So we're watching it every day just to get those people renewed. We are doing an increased communications campaign, a very direct communications campaign to those who have not renewed, because we do not want to be in a position of December 1st and having that many people not be licensed to practice, and then dealing with the investigations, the fines, et cetera. We need them to be licensed. Work is, I would say, again, productive for all of our units. We're licensing, enforcement, investigations, legal, and illegal, still getting a lot of public records requests, and I would argue has the fastest turnaround time in state government for public records requests. There's still, even being remote, things are moving along very well, productively with all of our units. Our licenses issued have ticked up a little bit, and Joe's providing numbers now, which I think makes good sense in the operations report on the median days it takes to license. And noting the median days it takes to license for those that are submitted as clean, meaning we get everything we need to from the outset, our median days for licensure, it's 10 days. So I think that's fantastic. Even in the pandemic, I mean, we are turning around licenses so fast. We do note that there are still delays in background checks. I think some of that is just the delay in people who waited on the background check that are still delayed. I also think that they are the processors of background checks are maybe just a little bit delayed. Joe's working with the e-license team to have a reminder built in. So if somebody, let's say, applies for their license March 1st and then forgets to do the background check, we're building this system around we're building notifications into the system to prod those individuals to go get their background checks done and finish out their application. So I think we'll see his numbers continue to drop because of that as well. If they're a clean license, we have 75% of our licensees done in less than 30 days. 50% of our licensees are in less than 14 days, and 25% are in less than 5 days. So I think that's really, really fantastic from a licensure perspective. Compliance, we've added some compliance numbers into your operations report. I'm still sort of playing with this in my mind as to what story we want to tell with this data. Right now, it's just pretty basic data. And so over the coming months, we'll kind of figure out what is it that we want to be telling you with these probation numbers, and maybe figuring out how we better display these. And certainly if anybody has any thoughts on that, I'm happy to discuss that. Right now, I think, at least we're reporting out on the total number of probationers that we have, those who have been released and those who are new. And you can kind of see the various breakdowns. That's helpful, I think, as to who's on probation right now. And then I guess finally what I would say is that in your open complaints data, I know Betty's going to love this bar graph. She loves when we do these graphs. I say with great sarcasm, the bar graph on open complaints. So what Stuart has adjusted the view of this bar graph to show that the bottom set of numbers on the open complaints, so it's page 14 of your operations report, is actually showing the relative change compared to January of the year. So, we had 1,754 open complaints in January, and now in September we have almost 2,000 open complaints. As I was putting all of this together, what I realized is, unfortunately, on the first day of his family leave, and so he can't do this for us for November, but I think he will be able to for December, is I would also like to show how many complaints are coming in during that time, right? And what that relative changes from January. So these are just open complaints. Again, if you'll remember, from your annual reports and other discussions, we receive a lot of complaints that we either protocol close or that we close. But, I'm concerned that we're up to almost 2,000 open complaints. But I also think we've received a higher proportionate amount than we normally do too. So I think we're just getting a lot of complaints. We've been in the news a lot. I think that always drives up complaint activity as well. When people see the name of something, they're more likely to think, oh, I could file a complaint as well. And you do see on the next page, on page 15, that we are closing complaints. Of course, we had a bit of a dip over the summer, given our inability to, I think, really go out and investigate. I think we'll continue to see those numbers go up over the next few months now that our investigators are able to get back out there and validate some things, and most likely just close some things that they would have relatively easily closed if they just had the chance to do their interviewing. And then, of course, communications has spent a great deal of time this past month getting ready for the retreat and sending out emails. And as I mentioned, we're going to be doing a very targeted email strategy for the license renewals. In November, I plan to come to you to talk to you about e-license costs. Those continue to, some of our questions continue to remain unanswered by DAS. And so we're making progress with getting better answers for them for the next fiscal year on what those costs look like. But it always remains a bit of a mystery, which I don't really understand. But we're getting closer, and I will have some sort of report for you in November on what our e-license costs look like. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Yes, Ms. Montgomery.
Page 8. Again, I don't do well on these, as you know, as I told you. But if you look on page 8, am I discerning correctly that we're saying that we only have reviewed non-compliance in 3 out of 215 cases? That can't be what that says, right?
No, I think what that means is that we have found 3 out of those in non-compliance. So
Do you believe that number?
we've taken non-compliance action on 3 probationers.
And does that include the one today?
Probably not, because we haven't.
Do you believe those numbers?
I believe that that's the number. I think what I would like better assurance of is how we're figuring out what non-compliance is. Right.
So do you believe that 3 out of 215 is a legitimate, what I'm trying to get to is, are we really actively looking at non-compliance in such a way? I would expect those numbers to be higher. That's what I'm saying.
My gut check is that we have more than 3 people that are not in compliance.
That's the question.
Yeah. That's my how we get to true number and how we really build some trust in that. I think is something, to Dr. Swain's earlier point, something that's very near on the horizon that I want to work on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Stephanie?
That's it for me. I'm going to turn it over to Tessie, who's going to talk to you about cultural competency guide.
Thank you.
When we approved and then distributed that guide, we kind of sent it with a caveat of this isn't final, right? This is going to be a living document, and we welcome you, our stakeholders, to always give us feedback and to always help us improve this guide. Because as we say in it, you can never fully achieve cultural competency. It's an ongoing process and something that we're always working on. So under that guise, we were contacted by Equitas Health. They really wanted us to expand some sections of the cultural competency guide. While we talked about certain aspects of gender identity, we really lacked in other areas. And so they helped us build out that portion of our guide. They reviewed the final product. And so now we want to bring it to you for approval to make this kind of our updated version of the guide, since you approved the first version of it. If you do approve dissemination of this, we will also probably start moving forward with updating our video to then also reflect the changes that were made in the printed companion booklet.
Thank you, Tessie. Is there any discussion? Mr. Gandadakis.
Tessie, were there additional expenses to undergo this exercise?
No, there were no additional expenses. We had printed booklets originally. We have not reprinted them. It's something that we could do in the future if we decide that we want to, but really because of the situation, I think the digital version is probably going to be the most widely shared at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Ms. Montgomery.
Tessie, thank you, Dr. Schottenstein. Did you write the guide?
This guide started in 2018, 17. So it has had the help of several different staff members. Most notably, Jerica on the communications team has done a lot of that work and kind of helped us finalize it and then get it published.
From us, it's I may have some queasiness about some things that you've said in it, but I just think you've done a wonderful job of covering. It's just a well done document, personal opinion. So kudos to you and your team.
Thank you. Yeah, we took care to really, work with partners who are kind of the champions of health equity and help us better improve our cultural competencies, and ran it by them. And, they worked with their partners as well to review that. So we certainly got a lot of input on it and a lot of individuals with different backgrounds and experiences to take a look at it.
Thank you, Dr.
Pleasure, of course.
Tessie, just quickly, who are these partners at Health Equity? Is that what?
Yes. It's called MAC, not to be confused with the Medicare one, but it's the Multicultural Association, and they were actually recommended to us by Senator Tavares in the beginning, saying, if you do this guide, they'd be a great partner to work with. And so that was our foundation in putting together the original one. And then Equitas Health is another institution in Columbus that reached out to us about the update.
Thank you so much, Tessie. Any other discussion? Okay, thank you. Tessie, do you need a motion from us or a vote to?
Yes, please. If I may have a motion to approve the updated version of the Cultural Competency Guide, I would appreciate it.
Sure, I'm guessing a voice vote will be okay for that. So Dr. Bechtel is moving.
Second.
Is there a second? Dr.
Second.
Saffron, thanks for coming. Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you so much, Tessie.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it. It's great. And so Ms. Anderson now will discuss rules and policies, please.
All right, thank you. So you have in your materials information from the September 24th rules hearing on our Rule 4761-9-04. This is a respiratory care rule that's being proposed for rescission and a new filing. It's actually an amendment, but 50%, more than 50% of the rule is being amended, so it's handled through a rescission and a new rule. No comments were received for the public hearing, and the hearing report from Kim Lee, our hearing examiner, is attached for your review. The JCAR jurisdiction ends on this on October 28th. We have our JCAR meeting next Monday on October 19th. So I anticipate being able to bring this back to you in November to final file. I am not asking for anything at this time other than just to bring this to your attention.
Kim, there is a motion here to adopt, amend, and rescind the rules as described in the September 21st, 2020 memo.
That's a separate memo, so I'd like to go to that if I could. So the first memo is just dealing with that one respiratory care rule and the hearing, and to make sure that you have the hearing report for your review. But next, I'd like to move to rules for adoption. And so these are, so we've got a number of rules here. The public hearing on these rules was held on July 23rd. No comments were received on rules 4734-01, 4731-1114, and 4731-3301. And the JCAR jurisdiction ended on August 23rd. But comments were received and the board approved changes, which were made at the August meeting for rules 4734-02, 4731-3302, 4731-1101, 4731-3501, and 4731-3502. And JCAR jurisdiction ended on September 13th. And so you also have in your memo a listing of these rules. They include the consult agreement rules, which are some that we are discussing. And this is the first iteration for physicians. So you'll remember we worked on these quite a bit. We'll be coming back to you later with rules for PAs. But this is your first iteration that you worked on a good year and a half ago. And then we also have some corrections to the subacute and chronic pain rules, which also were a long time in process. And then the detox rules for withdrawal management for physicians and PAs. So those are the packages that you have here. So I am looking for approval to final file those, and you do have a motion there to adopt, amend, and rescind the rules as described in the memo, and to assign each rule action the effective date of October 31st, 2020.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Thank you so much, Dr. Safran. Is there a second? Dr. Bechtel. Thank you so much, Dr. Bechtel. Is there discussion? Okay. I think a voice vote's okay, right? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And wait, am I right about that, Kim, or do we need the vote?
I think a voice vote is fine. Yeah, and we'll make sure that the minutes reflect that, and I think that's fine.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought. Okay. Thank you again. And so we'll turn to the medical marijuana petitions for 2021. The board is being asked to consider and approve next year's window, during which we will accept petitions requesting additional conditions be added to Ohio's medical marijuana control program. This year, petitions will be accepted November 1st through December 31st. May I have a motion to accept petitions during the same window next year, November 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. Motion, please.
So moved.
Dr. Bechtel, thank you. Second.
Dr.
Second.
Johnson.
Dr. Johnson, thank you so much. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothamo.
Yes.
Dr. Safran.
Yes.
Mr. Jacqueline.
Yes.
Dr. Sloan.
Yes.
Dr. Johnson.
Yes.
Dr. Coccarello.
Yes.
Mr. Vanadakis.
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery.
Yes.
Dr. Feibel.
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel.
Yes.
And myself, Michael Schottenstein. Yes. Thank you.
I'm
Dr.
sorry,
Feibel will now
if I could interrupt
Please.
for one moment, Mr. Ganadakis, would you like to change your vote to abstain on the medical marijuana petition window?
Yeah, my internet connection's really slow, but if I heard that correctly, I will change my vote to abstain.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vanadakis. Thanks, Becky. Dr. Feibel will now provide an update from last month's telehealth committee meeting.
Yeah, I will be brief. We met after the board meeting. We were informed that Medicaid filed a rule with JCAR about offering telehealth services to their beneficiaries. It was noted that the rule requires healthcare providers to conform with the rules of their respective boards. This will govern our licensees, but there are many other practitioners that are covered by the Medicaid rules who are not governed by our board. It is our hope that the other boards will adopt our guardrails to make it universal amongst all practitioners. It was reaffirmed that we needed guardrails around this legislation to protect from fraud and abuse and make sure that quality care in Ohio is maintained. We also modified the language to tighten when a telehealth visit can be done on the initial visit only. And it can be done only if the initial visit is necessary to avoid significant compromise to the patient's health or because the patient's lack of mobility. We also revised the cross-coverage language to be more narrow in its coverage. The medical board rule, which will be drafted in the future to help put in the necessary guardrails around telehealth services, will help guide this and frame this legislation in the future. And today at our meeting, everyone can come. We will review frequently asked questions and discuss more about the Medicaid rules at JCAR. Any questions? Except from Betty's dog.
Thank you, Dr. Feibel. Next, we'll go to Compliance Committee. The Compliance Committee met last month following the board meeting. Ms. Murray updated the committee on the development of dashboards that will help track data for the compliance section. The committee provided feedback on what data it would find most helpful. The committee also reviewed staff research showing that many other states permit out-of-state applicants to confidentially transfer from the other state's physician health program into its own. The committee discussed the possibility to pursue a similar policy for Ohio. And I'll just add on that note that we also talked about residents in training as possible candidates for the program. Following discussion, the committee determined that there should be continued conversations with Kelly Long, Executive Director of the Ohio Physicians Health Program, regarding the committee's concerns. Since Compliance Committee will not be meeting this month, may I have a motion, please, to approve the draft minutes of the committee's September meeting? Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Dr. And sorry, who's the second? Dr. Buchtel, thank you so much. A voice vote, please. All in favor, aye.
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 All opposed. Thank you. Next, Ms. Reardon will report on the Physician Assistant Policy Committee October 9th meeting. Jill, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Schottenstein, members of the board. The Physician Assistant Policy Committee was held on October 9th, which was last Friday. There was a legislative update on bills of interest given. Kim Anderson, our Chief Legal Counsel, gave an update on pending administrative rules as well as rules that are currently being worked on or in process. Sarah Lynch provided the committee with maps for 2015, 2019, and 2020, identifying the number of licensed physician assistants by county. And we do owe the committee an answer as to what addresses are being used to identify the physician assistants in each county. There has been an open position as the consumer member of this committee for a while. The appointment is one that is done by the president of the medical board, and Dr. Schottenstein approved by email the appointment of Ms. Karen Conger to serve in that position. Ms. Conger has an impressive resume and experience in the medical arena and will be an asset to that committee, and we're happy to have a consumer member have that position filled. And that's all I have unless there's any questions.
Do you need a vote on the appointment?
I don't think so. I think it is just an appointment by you. So I think we are, thank you.
Yes,
Yes, that's
thanks so
correct.
much. Okay, great. Thank you so much. So next is Sexual Misconduct Committee meeting update. We met this morning with a packet of proposed legislative proposals to look at, and really very exciting to see all of the proposals that we have before us, and grateful for all of the interested party feedback that we got, which was just incredibly productive, from prosecutors and medical associations and such. Among other things, and I'll refer you back to the Sexual Misconduct Committee meeting minutes because it's a lot to go through, but among other things, one of the things we talked about was defining essentially medical licensed professionals and including massage therapists in that definition, because there are unfortunately a fair number of sexual misconduct complaints associated with that profession. We also talked about moving sexual conduct as a felony, sexual battery, 5th degree felony. So to increase the stakes of discipline for that. We also talked about, prosecutors and courts notifying medical boards when there are licensees who come before them with infractions. And just variously talked about, reporting statutes, peer review, and most compellingly to me, we talked about a proposed piece of legislation, 4731.991. So what that would do essentially is it's very reminiscent of California's Patients' Right to Know Act, which went into effect back on July 1st, 2019. It's the first state in the country to have adopted language of this nature. Basically, what the language does is it requires a licensee who's on probation to provide information to his or her patients that he or she is in fact on probation, not for every violation, but for the ones that are most concerning in terms of patient harm. Sexual misconduct, alcohol or drug issues that cause patient harm, criminal conviction where there's patient harm, inappropriate prescribing where there's patient harm, things like that. And the medical board would also have an obligation to post that information in very sort of plain language on its website. We did talk about the possibility of unintended consequences, and Mr. Jackalone sort of brought that up and said, would like to know what California's, experience has been with this so far. I actually tried to research that. I could not find anything, but I would also be glad to know that, certainly. But I would also say that speaking for myself, I feel like the medical board should embrace this proposed legislation. I think it's the culmination of all the work we've done ever since the governor first proposed the Strauss Working Group. I think this proposed legislation will substantially aid in our effort to protect the public. I think it's arguably very impactful. As much or anything that we've done so far, I think it shows the public that we responded to the Strauss matter in a serious way. And then we moved on to a review of the historical cases where we, because we have gone through them in terms of an external review, that has been completed. 80% of the cases were, recommended to stay closed and that the close was appropriate. There were 9.5% where there was a thought that we could reopen, but it would really be difficult because victims potentially not being available for various reasons. 6.5%, there was a recommendation to reopen. That included things like duty to report, law enforcement notification, and things like that. So unless there's any questions, that concludes my report. And so next, Dr. Sohn will present the policy committee report.
Thank you, everyone. Policy committee met this morning at 9:30. We went over the minutes and the rule review update, and the rule review memo is in the attachment there in your agenda with policy committee. That was an FYI only. And then we moved to rules to file with CSI, starting with hearing rules and exposure-prone invasive procedures. One more thing before I move on to this. In the rule review update, we actually did talk about the controlled substance and the weight loss rules. And those were filed with CSI in comment period. And in November, we moved review those comments actually. So to file with CSI, I just want to highlight on the heels and exposure prone into the rule. The first one, hearing rule, invasive procedure rules. There was comments on the hearing rule to make a change to extend the days. Actually, some of those for requests to address the board's commonly helpful for us as far as our operations go. Made a recommendation to rules to file them with CSI and policy committee. In other words, do we have to vote again? I don't know if you heard me.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, you were breaking up a little
anyway,
bit. Yes, I think if we could have a motion.
I'm going to turn off my camera.
Oh, okay. If we could have a motion to file the hearing rules and the exposure-prone invasive procedure rules with the recommended changes, and the radiologist assistant rules with the recommended changes. I think we decided to table the licensure eligibility rules.
Yeah, correct. So do we have a motion for those, please?
So moved.
Second.
And there's a second. Yeah. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Hearing no opposition, that carries. I turned off my camera because my Wi-Fi was running slow. Hopefully that'll prevent me from breaking up more. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can now.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah. So I did want to mention something on the rules to file with CSI, particularly regarding the licensure eligibility rules. We decided to table those, but I wanted to talk about that a little bit because we decided to table, and we asked Mr. Turek and Ms. Anderson to kind of review 4 key points. One was if there was an opportunity to have equivalency for some of these licensure eligible rules. The other was regarding a foreign test, because the way that we had this rule sort of written, people had tests in foreign entities. For example, let's say a third world country or something, there'd be really no way for us to vet the veracity of that test and how good it is. So we need to figure out if we should limit that to U.S. tests only or some other box we need to put around it. The other item we were talking about is just to make sure we keep an eye on the legislature because they may actually come up with their own rules that would supersede some of the stuff that we're trying to do. So moving on to the next agenda item, which was the consult on the Department of Developmental Disabilities. We actually also made a motion to file this one as well. I don't think that does that require a full board motion too, or are we good with what we did in policy committee?
I don't think it would hurt to do that since I think the statute says consult with the medical board. We choose to do that through policy committee, but I don't think it would hurt to do that.
Okay. So do we have a motion to approve the consult on Department of Developmental Disabilities? Dr. Bechtel, and a second?
Second, Dr. Cockrell.
Dr. Cockrell, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You guys, and no opposition, that motion carries. And we'll move on to the legislative update. First of all, just a general comment at what a good job the team did this time around on putting together the legislative update. It was very comprehensive. We were very direct about the board's positions, even taking aggressive positions with terms like strongly oppose or approve and that kind of stuff, just to give everyone some color on where we're at. I want to highlight a few bills that we discussed during the legislative update. First was Senate Bill 246, which was the occupational licensure reciprocity bill. There's a sub bill that we're sort of waiting on adoption. I know that the team at the medical board had gone back to the sponsor around fitness to practice. Ms. Montgomery brought up a point that there's actually a bill that's similar in the House. I think it's House Bill 263. And she was hoping that the bill in Senate Bill 246 would actually mirror the language in 263, specifically regarding a look back for violent crimes or sexual issues. To allow for like an unlimited or more aggressive ability to look back. We also discussed Senate Bill 364, the interstate licensure bill. On September 16th, I think the board had met with people from the Interstate Licensure PAC. They also met with several state and the OSMA stakeholders, and they're meeting interesting parties as well next week, and then they're going to present next month on this one. Then we discussed the House bill, the PA bill regarding sedation and rapid sequence intubation. The team at the medical board had expressed their opinions to the governor's office as well as the PA Society. Specifically, this is one that the medical board had strongly opposed. House Bill 679, the telehealth bill, is moving forward. I think there is a subcommittee amendment package that the medical board was wanting to make sure that we were pushing forward or moving with, and the people involved with that particular piece of legislation seemed receptive to the feedback the medical board had. We discussed Senate Bill 239, the music therapists to be under the State Medical Board of Ohio. There's some debate back and forth. Mr. Giacalone brought up a point that we already have stretched resources, and does this actually represent a good fit for us to move forward? And then finally, we discussed House Bill 747, the off-label drug use. It was brought to our attention that was introduced a day after the hydroxychloroquine debate came out, and so that could be related to that particular issue, because as of now, physicians do have discretion to write off-label as it is per our rules and laws under their discretion, assuming they follow appropriate guidelines and standards. And at the very end, we just discussed the two medical marijuana bills that were introduced, but they don't necessarily seem to be moving forward at this point in time. And so that concludes my report. Sorry for my Wi-Fi issues. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Soren. Finance Committee will not be meeting separately in October, so business will be presented at this time. First, may I please have a motion to approve the draft minutes of the committee's September meeting?
I'll move.
Saffron and Mr. Domadakis, thank you so much. Voice vote, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you. All opposed? Thank you so much. I'll present the Finance Committee update. So looking at our fiscal update for August 2020, revenue was $490,821. We have a cash balance of $4,571,540. Those numbers are substantially down from last month, and that appears to be a function of the delay in the license renewal deadline. Looking ahead, September is better. The cash balance will go back up over $5 million. September is always a big month because of the October 1st deadline. For the month of September, it looks like we're only about $80,000 behind projections. Since the renewal moved to December 1st back in March, and we sort of heard Stephanie allude to this already, we've accumulated somewhere around 17,000 licensees who would normally have renewed by now. Maybe it's closer to 15,000 because of attrition. again, they appear to be waiting for the December 1st deadline. So in that regard, we do, again, as Stephanie mentioned, have a communications plan going forward from now until December 1st, with the thought of sending something like 7 or 8 different, messages, communications over these next couple months to those licensees who are waiting to renew, just sort of reminding them of the December 1st deadline. Of concern too is that the December 1st deadline applies to all boards, not just ours. So it's conceivable that the e-license system will be flooded with board renewal requests those last few days of November. So again, really prudent, I think, to, renew early. You may also note a 6.5% increase year to date in expenditures. That's almost all increase in payroll, and that is substantially a function of the fact that we have 4 or 5 vacancies as opposed to the 8 or 9 that we usually carry. You may see under the historical case review the total amount spent, including the scanning project and the case reviews. For fiscal years 20 and 21, the total medical board has spent on the historical case project totals $164,903. $7,500 in disciplinary fines in the month of August, in addition to the $82.17 received from collections. We levied $34,000 in fines in August. That was a big month for us. There's no new business. Any questions regarding Finance Committee matters? Okay. Thank you so much. Next, Dr. Safran will address Licensure Committee business, please.
Thank you, Dr. Schottenstein. Today, the board will consider 8 licensure requests. Information on each of the requests have been prepared by licensure staff and distributed to board members. First one is Dr. Dugali. Do I hear a motion to grant the graduate medical education equivalents as outlined in 4731.09A4B and to grant a license to him?
So moved.
Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Dr. Bechtel, second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel?
Yes.
Dr. Safran?
Yes.
Dr. Zappalone?
Yes.
Dr. Soren?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Dr. Caccarello?
Yes.
Mr. Granadakis?
Yes.
Ms. McCummon? Ms. Montgomery? Well, okay. Dr. Feibel?
Yes.
Dr. Bachtel?
Yes.
And myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. Thank you.
Next, Jessica Collins, Christy Fry, Sofat Lord, Margaret Papelli are applying for restoration of their massage therapy license. Before asking for a motion, does any board member wish to consider any of these applications separately? Do I hear a motion to approve Jessica Collins, Christy Fry, Sofat Lord, Margaret Papelli applications for restoration of their Ohio licenses contingent on passing the MBLEX within 12 months of the date of mailing of the notice of opportunity for a hearing?
So moved, Dr. Caccarello.
Second.
And Dr. Bechtel. Oh, okay. And so Dr. Rothermel then. Yes? Thank you.
Yes.
Any discussion on the motion? Okay, roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel?
Yes.
Dr. Safran?
Yes.
Mr. Giacalone?
Yes.
Dr. Soren?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Dr. Caccarello?
Yes.
Mr. Granadakis?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery? Dr. Feibel?
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel?
Yes.
And myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes.
Finally, staff has recommended approving the licensure applications of Holly Craig, Jovan Harris, Lauren Marlowe as presented. Before asking for a motion, does any board member wish to consider any of these applications separately? Do I hear a motion to approve applications and issue licenses to Holly Glenn, Jovan Harris, and Lauren Marlowe.
Motion, Dr. Becker.
Second, Dr. Cockrell.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel,
Yes.
Dr. Safran,
Yes.
Mr. Giacalone,
Yes.
Dr. Soy,
Yeah.
Dr. Johnson,
Yes.
Dr.
Yes.
Cacarella,
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis,
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery, Dr. Feibel,
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel,
Yes.
and myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes.
Thank you. This concludes the Licensure Committee business for October.
Thank you so much, Dr. Safran. Really appreciate it. Next on the agenda, please turn to the compliance section. Do I hear a motion to approve the compliance staff's reports of conferences for September 8th and 10th, 2020?
Giacalone.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rothermel. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel?
Yes.
Could we have someone else do a second on that, please?
Oh,
sorry.
That's okay. Second, Dr. Cockrell.
Thank you. Dr.
Keep me on my
Rothermel?
toes.
Abstain.
Yes. Dr. Safran?
Abstain.
Mr. Giacalone?
Yes.
Dr. Soy?
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Dr. Cacarella?
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery? Dr. Feibel?
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel?
Abstain.
And myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. At this time, we will consider the probationary requests in today's agenda that have been prepared by the Standards Review and Compliance staff and distributed to board members. Before asking for a motion, does any board member wish to consider a probationary request separately? Do I hear a motion to approve the secretary and supervising members' recommendations for the probationary requests? Motion?
So moved, Dr. Johnson.
Second,
Thank you.
Dr.
Second.
Cockrell.
Thank you so much. Roll call, please. Dr. Rothermel?
Abstain.
Dr. Safran?
Abstain.
Giacalone?
Yes.
Dr. Soy?
Yes.
Dr. Johnson?
Yes.
Dr. Cacarella?
Yes.
Mr. Ganadakis?
Yes.
Ms. Montgomery? Dr. Feibel?
Yes.
Dr. Bechtel?
Abstain.
And myself, Michael Schottenstein, yes. That concludes the October 14th, 2020 meeting of the State Medical Board of Ohio. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Safran? Dr. Bechtel, thank you so much. All in favor, voice vote, aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the time is 3:26 p.m. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all so much. It was great seeing you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Stay
Thank
well.
you. So, you too.